Hey guys, welcome back. So it's time to get the car up in the air so we can get to the bottom of the engine and hopefully pull that piston. So I've got some Jenga blocks. I've got some Jenga blocks, and I'm going to use these under the back wheels. And I'm going to get the front of the car up as well, but this is going to give me a nice lift. So let's get the car up in the air. Let's get the front wheels off and then start looking at what we need to do under the car. And if you want to see how we got here before, click on the link up there, whatever it is, and that will bring you through the journey of where we've got to so far. So that's the back up. Now let's get the front up. A bit low at the front, isn't it? So if we get that up as well, that'll give us something to work from. Could do it going up at the front, couldn't it? Fantastic. So the trouble I've got is this thing, because I do not have the key for it, but I do have an 18, and I don't know whether I can get a key for this somewhere else or whether I just hammer an 18 over it and then take it off that way, because I need to get this wheel off. Well, I need to get all the wheels off at some point. Anyone know what this locker is? I have no idea. Bloody annoying is what it is. Looks like it's designed just around. Oh, is that a cap that you're supposed to take off? Let's dig into this. That's a bit disappointing, I'm a bit stuck now. I need a locking wheel nut key, and doesn't look like any locking wheel nut that I've seen before, so I'm going to post a picture on some forums and find out how we go. That was an anticlimax, wasn't it? Okay, so it's time to get these wheel nuts off, and you can see there's some weird, whatever pattern that is, and I don't have a locking wheel nut key, so what we're going to do is use a bit of brute force and ignorance, smack on a socket, then twist it off. But before we do that, the car's up in the air now, so I've got to stop the wheel from rotating. So all I've done is I've braced the brake pedal with some rudimental process. As you can see, the car's up, so this will no longer rotate. So now we're gonna smack on that socket, which is what's this? This is 11/16. So it's slightly bigger. So 11/16 is about 17.5. So I'm going to smack that on there. I've got an 18, I'll try as well if that's too small. And then I've got my breaker bar, and we'll twist it off, and then we should be able to get this wheel off. So let's try that, shall we? Alright, I'm going to start with an 18. Leverage. Seriously? Easy as that. So now what we've got to do is get the bolt out from the 18. One sacrificial 18mm alpha socket. That wasn't torqued up at all. That was really loose. Okay, well, let's try and remove this. Out she pops. So you can see, you can't see, focus, focus. Oh, I'll take another shot of it. So you can see where it's like rounded off the edges where the socket was hammered on. So these, well, it's still not too bad actually. So now I've got them off, I've already loosened these ones. I can spin these out, get this wheel off. I mean, look at the damage on this wheel. It's all going to have to be refilled anyway. Damage on that caliper. Look how rusty my brake discs are. So let me get these wheels off, kick the tyres a few times, and then we'll get this wheel out of the way, see what we're working with. I don't think that's too bad. There's your back of your headlights. So if you need to get in there, you need to pull that. It's all my hoses and everything I've got tucked down that way. I'll probably need to tuck these back up now, don't I? Now they're going to be exposed. Oh, I'm getting eaten by something. Right. Right, so basically now this is out of the way, what I want to do is I'm going to reposition this axle stand. I'm going to put that back on this mounting point. These have seen better days, haven't they? I'm going to put it back on this mounting point so that I've got full access underneath. And basically what we'll do is look at, we've got to take off, disconnect these wishbones, so the lower wishbone. So that's front and back. So I've got to take it off. Where I can't see it. Got to take that off. Got to take this off. And then we start supporting the engine from above, and then there's a couple of big bolts, and we've got to disconnect the engine mounts, and then basically this subframe is going to drop down and the engine is going to stay in place. And then once it's down, I can then support the engine on axle stands on the engine mounts as well to keep it in place, as well as having it supported from above. So I can get this out of the way, and then I can pull this pan, because you need to be able to get to the front of it as well. So this is the lower pan which you can get off, but I need to be able to get all the way to the front. Underneath this thing I need to be able to get into, so I can get to the bottom of the rods and push it up. So that's not too bad actually, that's all good. So I don't think I need to have a good look. I think I've got a lot of plastic I need to take off. I think there's probably bolts all over the place. Doesn't look too bad actually. So I've got to get that off. Take I don't think that needs to come off. Is that on the front subframe? Steering rack. Yeah, that's the front subframe, isn't it? No. No, it's just that bit there. So I've got to disconnect the steering rack. That would be good. But anyway, you can see with the car up, there's loads of room underneath. So as long as this is nice and secure, there's plenty of room to work underneath. So actually dropping that subframe should be fairly straightforward once I've worked out what I need to disconnect. Happy days. My discs are going to clean up okay. There's no lip on it. These are practically new, these discs. Just got a bit of surface rust on them. Right, I'm going to call that a result. Wheels are off, which is good. I'm not going to move those jacks tonight because it is getting close to football time. I'm going to call it there for tonight, and then next time around what we'll do is we'll get those axle stands on. Get the axle stands on. Next time around we'll move the axle stands, make sure that's nice and secure. It'll probably be the weekend now, and then we'll start looking at how we drop that subframe. But I need to get my engine brace sorted out as well because I haven't got one. I could use some wood and some chain, but I think I'm probably better off doing it properly just in case it's quite a heavy lump. I've got some big wood for now. But yeah, let's do this properly. So let me sort that out, and we'll come back. Probably be the weekend now, so it's going to take a little while for me to go through all this. But happy days. But if you ever come across these bad boys, just use a 16th socket. So I've still got the rears to get off as well, so I've still got those lockers on the rears, and I've got to take the wheels off eventually to give them a bit of a refurb, but we're going to be doing that last. All the cosmetic stuff comes last. Let's get the engine sorted first and go for there. Right, so all the under trays off. I've exposed this. I've moved my axle stands back so they're on the mounting point, so I've got full access underneath now. Probably can't hear a word of this. And you can see, so subframe's connected there. There's your engine mounts. There's a connection point there, and there's also a connection point up here, which goes all the way across there. So all of this stuff's got to come out of the way. So I've got to remove from the oil cooler. I've got to drop the anti-roll bar out of the way. I have to disconnect the tie rod ends from this because they need to be maneuvered out of the way, because when this drops down I can't see that this is two pieces. This is just one piece, and this is connected on the front mount as well up here. So what I might have to do is take the whole front of the car off, which isn't what I was expecting. I'm pretty sure when I was looking at all the diagrams and reading everything, it was just this bit across here and it was just across the bottom. I didn't know, or I hadn't seen properly that it was all this stuff up here as well. So in order to get to, oh, you can't see them, those bolts up there, so you get to the bottom of the pan, all this stuff's got to come out of the way and give me space. So it's not unachievable, it's just a bit more work than I was expecting yet again. And look at the crap. Oh, look at this for a design flaw as well. Let me move my way around. Oh. So this, brake line. So the brake line comes up and it's got this carrier here, and then the brake line goes down and around to the back of the caliper, and then this mount here, which is where the brake line's attached, it's just full of crap. So, and there's no drain in there, so that's just going to build up and build up and build up. And you can see, I wonder what's going to happen there. That's just going to rust out, isn't it? So I'm going to have a look at that as well. It's probably the same on the other side. But in order to get this subframe off, yeah, you can see it comes all the way across here. All the way across here, so you have to detach all this stuff and get everything that's attached to it out of the way so I can drop it whilst I'm supporting the engine. I might give things a good clean while I'm here as well. Oh, it just continues, doesn't it? Whew. We'll get there. Oh my god, what am I doing? We'll get there. Alright, so we've got lower control arm off. I've taken the suspension off. I've loosened this. I've got to remove the control rod ends. I've got to disconnect the anti-roll bar. I've got to take the anti-roll bar down and out of the way. I've got to disconnect the what's it called? Steering rack. And I've got to take off these connections for the oil cooler because they're going to get trapped underneath. So I've also disconnected here, so when this slides down, this front subframe bit will stay in place and this will slide down out of the way. So we're moving forward. Still got more to do, and then I've got to do this on the other side as well. And I've obviously got to take this fully out because it's just captive at the moment. I want to leave that until I've got these bits off, and then once I've done that, we can support the engine from above, and then we can have a look at the engine mounts, like disconnect those, and then potentially we can think about pulling these bolts and dropping the subframe. That'll be fun, won't it? Moving on. Right, so we've got control arms disconnected, anti-roll bar disconnected, steering rack disconnected, although I'm not entirely sure how that gets out from between there. I think I might need to disconnect all the pipes and actually take the steering rack out of the way. God, I don't know. So I have had to remove the radiator, so this is all done from this side. So the only thing on this side I have to do are the bolts holding the subframe to the frame rails. So there's 3 of those, and obviously the engine mounts. I'm not going to touch those until I've got all the stuff out of the way. So I've got to take the anti-roll bar off because that's going to come with. So we need to have a look at that. I think it's just going to be easier just to take this off, get it out of the way, and worry about that afterwards. And that'll give the steering rack more room to play as well. Yeah, we're getting there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse and repeat on the other side, get this anti-roll bar off, get the rest of the stuff disconnected so we're ready to brace the engine and see where we get. But it's British Grand Prix today, so I'm going to stop and watch the British Grand Prix for a bit. Man, bloody hot as well. Nice problem to have, isn't it? So on this side, so this is the off side now. So we've got the control arms disconnected, the anti-roll bar is gone, the steering rack is disconnected. That's supported on an axle stand so that it doesn't swearing all over the place. So the only thing I've got to get out of the way, I've got to drain the oil, I've got to get this steering rack and drop that out of the way, and I've also got to disconnect these lines. And then that's everything out of the way for the subframe, so we'll be able to suspend the engine and drop the subframe. But like I said before, Grand Prix is about to start, so I'm going to go inside and watch the Grand Prix and come back out to this later. Fingers crossed, eh? Let's hope it's a good one.
Oh, and it was the merest of touches, but it was enough. And look how the wheel has come loose from.
It just me, or does it make you need to loo? So once this is drained, I've got to drain the cooler. I've got to drain the cooler at the front. So I'll let this drip for a while, make sure everything's out, because I've got to drop that pan anyway. So we're nearly there underneath, but I've got a problem with my top mount. So as you can see, these members, they drop down with the curvature of the bonnet, and when I put the top mount on it, it's sliding. So I need some way of bracing them so I don't have them slide off, and then I can put the chain on the top engine support and keep it up. The other bit I'm finishing off is the power steering. So I don't know where the stuff goes for it, but it comes off the pump, but I've got to get the rack out of the way, so I've got to do some work on that. Everything else disconnected, the oil cooler's off, the auxillary radiators are off, the track rod ends are off, the anti-roll bars off, the track rod ends, yeah, well, whatever they're called, the lower wishbone supports are off. The shock is disconnected from the lower, so everything's out of the way. I've drained the oil. All I need to do is get that steering rack out, and then we can work out how on earth we're going to keep this thing from falling down when I take the subframe out, and then we can take the subframe out. Sounds easy, doesn't it? Oh, holy crap. So I chose the hottest weekend of the year to do this on as well. Okay, oh, focus. So I need to remove that one there. So I need to remove that, which then disconnects the steering arm, and I can then pull the steering rack forward. So let's get a bit for that, and then I need to disconnect the what's it called? I need to disconnect the feed for it. Do this. Okay, so I think it's, oh, I'll get the light, that one there, and this one down here, which will then mean this is free. I think I've just gone wrong, but it's not a problem, we can correct it. So I think it's actually that just there that I need to disconnect, because these lines seem to go to the bottom of the power steering. So I think if I disconnect that block, that's probably what I need to be doing. Oh, phone just hit me in the face. Why is this binding up? Getting hung up too much. Okay, so that was really painful to get out. Firstly, because I hadn't got a clue what I was doing, but effectively you need to decouple this, which is a right pain in the arse. So all I've ended up doing is taking it from this collapsible shaft, which is a lot easier to get to. I don't know if that's the right way of doing it or not. The other thing you've got to do is, this is buried up at the top of the rack, and you've got the feed and return lines. So I took these ones off to start off with, that one and the one that hides around the back there, or hides around the back there. Which is wrong because they're still attached to the body here, so you need to actually take the feed and return lines off. And look at the colour of my power steering fluid. So it's a bit dark, so it's probably not a bad thing that I'm doing this, because I'm going to be topping it up with all new stuff, which is good. But that's the rack out, and now if we go under the car, so steering rack is out, oil cooler is out, the control arms are out, everything is disconnected from this subframe except for the engine mounts. So I'm not going to do it now. I need to work out how I'm going to support the engine from above, and then I can drop this subframe down and get that out of the way. So the process will be, you've got three, slide under, you've got the engine mounts, bolts that you can get to, so there's one here, one here, both same on either side. That releases the engine mounts, and then it's held to the chassis by, there's a couple bolts here, so there's a bolt there, there's a bolt, one back there, and I think there's one up there as well. So a couple of bolts to remove, and then this should just drop down out of the way. But obviously you've got to make sure that this is suspended, otherwise it falls on your head. So I don't know whether I'm going to do something up top and then put an axle stand with a block of wood across the bottom here as well, because it's out of the way of this, and that should just provide additional support. I don't know, but next step is a massive one, because next step is get this subframe out. Oh, look at the state of me. Right, that's all I'm going to do for today. That's a wrap for this episode, actually. Thank you very much for sticking with me. If you have, give us a hashtag still watching. Haven't asked for one of those for a while. Or give us a hash brown. Let's go Cobra Kai. If you haven't already and you like what you see, please do consider hitting that like and subscribe button. That will help me out immensely. And if you've been here before, thank you very much. Don't forget to hit that like button as well. That'll help the algorithm. If you see me do something wrong, let me know in the comments. I mean, this has been a right pain in the backside, honestly. I wouldn't recommend doing this on your driveway if you can help it. That's what garages are for, isn't it? But I'll persevere. I said I was going to do this, and I'm going to do this. So we'll just soldier on. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Next time around, we'll get that subframe down, and we'll expose the belly of the beast. See you on the driveway next time. Cheers, guys.